Hello everyone, welcome back to Affinity for Commander. My name is Alex, and today we're going to be taking a look at the singular, most overlooked commander in all of Baldur's Gate, because quite frankly, they're absolutely insane. Can generate infinite mana with one card, make your opponents have no hand for the rest of the game, and... sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself, I'm a little bit excited. If you too would like to ruin several friendships a single moment by playing this deck, then be sure to head over to any of our lovely affiliate links in the description box below to make your purchases. Doesn't cost anything extra, but it really helps the channel out a lot. Or if you want to bling out the disgustingness that you'll be purchasing, then be sure to head over to altersleeves.com to peruse their extensive library of perfect fit alter sleeves. Again, links in the description. And finally, and as always, all Affinity for Commander content is made possible thanks to the support of our amazing patrons. You guys are truly awesome. Now let's get into looking at the insanity the Lord of Bones brings to the table. Myrkul, Lord of Bones, is a 7/5 god for 4 generic, 1 white, 1 black, and 1 green mana. He reads: as long as your life total is less than or equal to half your starting life total, Myrkul, Lord of Bones has Indestructible. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you may exile it. If you do, create a token that's a copy of that card, except it's an enchantment and loses all other card types. So right off the bat, this is going to be a deck that focuses heavily on the commander and their ability as well as their interactions. So to lean into this, we're going to have to be looking at tokens, enchantments, as well as a whole load of ramp to make sure our very highly costed commander comes out when he needs to. So let's take a look at what our first few turns for this deck should look like. We are going to be running nearly every single 1 CMC mana dork that we possibly can. And the reason for this is we need the mana to get Myrkul out as early as possible. Equally, later in the game they can become good sacrifice fodder, as well as when they are reanimated with our commander, they also make for some good enchantment ETBs, which we'll get into in a bit. Elvish Mystic, Lanoir Elves, Aracin's Pilgrim, Birds of Paradise are all in the deck, with hopefully one of them being in our opening hand. We've also got the 1 mana sacrifice outlet of Viscera Seer. This deck needs its creatures to be dying so that Myrkul can turn them into their enchantment form, so sacrifice outlets are a must. Moving up to the 2 mana slot, this is where we start to get some of our more interesting abilities, as well as still looking at our ramp. Fast Seek and 3 visits for our ramp and fixing. Secure a Tribe Elder grabs us a land and can do it again if brought back by Myrkul. And Sanctum Weaver should tap for a load of mana with all the enchantments we'll be generating. Then we have creatures like Blood Artist because, well, we're going to have our creatures dying a lot, so having a drain effect is a good way to help close out the game. Scavenging Ooze is still the best graveyard hate around the 2 mana slot. And the final 2 mana creature I want to talk about is Rift Sweeper. Because, say we have the one creature that's going to win us the game, you know the one, and it's been exiled. But not for us. Rift Sweeper can at least put the card back into our library to be searched up for later. And we also have the most noteworthy card in the entire deck, Devoted Druid. Which I'm sure some of you are asking me, Alex, yes, it's a fine card. And sure, you could run the infinite life combo with Vizier Remedies, but so what? Well, my ill-informed followers, with Myrkul out, should the Druid die to, well, its own effect, then we're going to be having a Druid enchantment that can tap for a green and untap infinitely, as no amount of -1/-1 counters can kill an enchantment. Infinite mana from just our commander, and 1 little old 2-drop. See? Told this was silly good. Which, of course, this brings us to the fact there is a Walking Ballista and Torment of Hailfire also in the deck. Now, any big black spell will obviously do, but I personally like the Torment. Meanwhile, Walking Ballista can also, with Myrkul out, can just be played for 0, die, and then be brought back as an enchantment. This way, any additional mana left over in our turns can just be sank into the Ballista enchantment. Obviously not its intended purpose, but a nice synergy nonetheless. Now, as we are a rather enchantment heavy deck, as hopefully most of our creatures will turn into them, then some enchantment support in the form of Sterling Grove works wonders to prevent our opponents from destroying our Blood Artist enchantment, and can also search for one of our few higher value enchantments. Speaking of enchantments, the 3-drop slot is where we get our first bit of enchantment help, aside from the Grove. Cetizen Champion not only gets bigger from our enchantments entering the battlefield, but also draws a card each time, which helps a lot. Now, the problem we run into here is that not all enchantresses are worded the same. Some, like Mesa and Argothian, are on cast, which, considering our tokens are being made, they're not being cast, which means we don't draw a card from them coming into the battlefield. Whereas stuff like the Champion does care about the enchantments entering the battlefield, so he does draw a card. Hence, Champion in, certain enchantresses out. But moving back into our 3 slot, this is where we find the bulk of our deck. Again, ramp is needed until Myrkul can comfortably come out and have an impact. Kodama's Reach, Cultivate, Farhaven Elf, and Wood Elves all help us ramp, with the former 2 also being able to be made into useful enchantments later on. And as mentioned, this deck relies heavily on the commander, so to keep them safe we have both Bastion Protector and Guardian Augmenter, which both buff our commander, which is already a beefy boy as is, and also offers protection to them while we grind out our enchantments. Plus, if they die, having them as enchantments out still protects Myrkul and offers their static buff. And we have cards like Woe's Strider and Phyrexian Altar, as these let us sacrifice our value creatures, which can then help us get them back in enchantment form. Birthing Pod also not only sacks our creatures for us, but then lets us go find others with the correct static effect for the given situation. And yes, I am putting this artifact in the 3-drop slot, because I quite frankly cannot remember a time where I've actually cast it for its 4 mana and not 3, and shocked myself. From here, we're now going to be moving into the 4 CMC slot, which is where we're going to be getting a lot more of our enchantment focus, as well as some of our token support. Because remember, the things Myrkul makes are not only enchantments, but also token copies of the creatures. Archon of Sun's Grace generates us a 2/2 flyer that, as long as we have the Archon out, also have lifelink. Eidolon of Blossoms is another means of drawing cards when our enchantments, or enchantment tokens, enter the battlefield. Speaking of enchantments, Erebos, God of the Dead, not only shuts off any life gained from our opponents, but can then also help us draw cards, which is very nice of him. Now here's where our enchantments being tokens comes in mega handy, because both Anointed Procession and Parallel Lives will produce 2 token copies of the enchantments Myrkul makes. So that is 2 Blood Artist enchantments, 2 Archon of Sun Grace enchantments, and so on and so on. And if in the rare circumstance we actually want our tokens to turn back into their former creature selves, then Opalescence is one of the very few cards that is, whilst on the reserve list, good, it is not stupidly priced. And as a random interaction in terms of Wood Elves and Farhaven Elf, Opalescence actually buffs their enchantment selves, so that's nice. And finally we arrive at the 5 and plus CMC slots, and here I just wanted a bunch of heavy creatures with amazing static abilities that we're going to be dropping a lot earlier than normal with our ridiculous amount of ramp, which, should they die, Myrkul can always bring them back and have their static abilities still stay around. Massacre Worm gets rid of all small tokens and creatures on the board and can cause a huge life swing, especially when sacrificed and brought back the same turn, so anything with toughness less than 4 is dead straight away. Kodama of the East Tree is also a ridiculous card here, due to the fact that our tokens still have their mana cost. So when a Farhaven Elf is brought back as an enchantment, we can then put a Scooz or Blood Artist into play directly with Kodama's ability. Elvish Norn also gets rid of all small creatures and buffs our board, a great static ability to have around. Woodland Bellower gets to fetch us any of our earlier value pieces from the deck, and then does it again when brought back. Avenger of Zendikar, as always, be avenging, especially with still having the put a counter on each plant whilst it is an enchantment. Beladros Witherbloom himself is a great commander. Be sure to check out the deck tech on that if you're interested. But he also slots wonderfully in Myrkul, with again an amazing set of static abilities. Athros Shroud Veiled is already an enchantment, but has a very sneaky ability to put a coin counter on another player's creature. We kill it, and it comes back under our control. So far, so Athreos. But then, if it dies, we get a token enchantment copy, and the creature is exiled because it died under our control. Synergy. Now that's all the non-land cards we're going to be talking about in this video for the deck. Now, as for lands, beyond normal fixing, there's only 3 that I really want to talk about, and that's High Market, Phyrexian Tower, and Rogue's Passage. High Market and the Tower both do a similar thing. They're there to sacrifice our creatures with Myrkul out to turn them into enchantments, to either save them from a board wipe, bounce, or exile spell, as well as generating us some mana in the Tower's case. Rogue's Passage meanwhile just means that if there is a life gain deck at the table and we didn't get Erebos out in time, we can then go the commander damage route, as Myrkul is still a 7 power creature and only needs to hit 3 times to kill anyone with commander damage. And remember, alternative win cons are always good. Overall, Myrkul Lord of the Bones is the single most overlooked commander in this entire set. Their very ability breaks the rules of Magic in a completely new and unique way. They also offer something to Abzan Reanimator that is never had before, which is enchantment support, which is very weird to have both of these massive mainstay type decks coming together. He is a unique commander with a fantastically interesting and horrifying ability that has many disgusting interactions that I have personally chosen to leave out the deck because they are, well, quite frankly, not okay. And Myrkul is 100% going to be going down as my favourite commander from Baldur's Gate, and I cannot wait to play him in paper. And that will be the end of the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what your favourite idea for Myrkul is in the comments below. We read every single one of them. As always, if you like this type of content and want to support the channel, you can do so in a few quick and easy ways. Like this video, subscribe to the channel for more just like it, and follow us on your preferred social media platform. As always, guys, I have been Alex, and I will see you next time.